12 carries, 81 yards for Schumacher. Look out! That is Tharp. Tharp leaps over one tackle. Down that far side he goes. One man to try to beat. He will do it and leap into the end zone. Fairview answers.
Well, after a week off here on ESPN.TV, we're back. Marty Cesario and Brian Roth with you. And boy, we're getting down to the quarterfinals of the state playoffs. The best time of the year when you come to high school football. Boy, really looking forward to the games upcoming here. But before we take a look at those quarterfinal matchups in both 4A and 5A, let's take a look back at what transpired here this last weekend. All right, let's start in Class 5A and start with Region A. And Mullen, they rolled over Legacy. Marty, I don't think anybody was going to question that one. Meanwhile, Thunder Ridge, they hammered Cherry Creek pretty good. I know 31-19 the final there, but I know Thunder Ridge had a bigger lead than that.
They came out strong. You know, Coach Johnson had them up 31-7 at one point, and then Cherry Creek snuck back in with a couple of touchdowns there. But look at Thunder Ridge out of that southern leg. Here they are. We thought they were faltering early on in the season, took a couple of losses, lost their big Dylan Bonnell, their offensive lineman, but obviously pretty strong moving on in here into the quarters.
Yeah, we had them ranked 4th in our poll to open up this season. They have now made the quarterfinals. Down to Region B, and Regis, how about the Raiders of Regis? They hammered Eagle Crest, which could have been the most Jekyll and Hyde team we saw all year.
Yeah, you just never know what was going to show up with the Raptors, and obviously the team that you know, took 5 losses during the season showed up on this particular matchup. But Regis, this is a squad that a lot of us really think is going to be the surprise team, already showing it. Marcus Walker with that powerful running game, and then that defense, they're fierce and they hit people, and they put up 49 and blanked those Eagle Crest Raptors. You know, coming up this week, there's still a team that I think you have to watch out for. They may go semis, who knows? Yeah.
Meanwhile, Arvada West, they move on as they beat Mountain Vista out of that Southern League. And then to Region C, the game we had on Friday night, it was Fairview and Grandview. And how about the snow that we saw? Of course, there was a lot of games that were played in the snow, but Fairview off to a quick start. But Marty, you were there. You and Corey Lopez had the call on that game. That was a ferocious comeback by the Grandview Wolves.
Well, basically, they instilled kind of a quirky, unorthodox offense, which included a 6'5", 240 quarterback in Chris Martin, the outside linebacker, who's Notre Dame bound. This kid had so much fun. Not only was he just very impressive in the way he ran the offense, but he was just having a great time. You could see the smile through the face mask. Fairview could not stop him. Maybe if they had done that all 4 quarters, who knows what that result would have been. But at most of the time between the second quarter and middle of the 4th, they could not stop him. Speaking of Fairview's defense, could not stop Chris Martin. Basically, missed a PAT, had to go for 2, didn't get that, and then just didn't have enough time. Fairview got that victory.
So Fairview stays undefeated. They go to 11-0 now in the season. They have pretty good skill players. I mean, that's what they are. They're a skill football team. Will they be able to stand up against a bigger football team? They'll face a bigger football team next as we return to the scores as Columbine knocks off Chaparral 21-13. Chaparral a couple of fumbles on their first 2 drives in the second half, and then Pomona paced by pace. They knock off Cherokee Trail, and then Bear Creek. What can you say about Bear Creek? Yeah, you knew they were dangerous at the 22 seed, but did we know they were going to be this dangerous? I don't know, but they're going to get a rematch with Pomona.
One thing you know, we have to point out as we're mentioning all these Big 8 teams, look at those Jeffco kids. 5 of the 8 teams remaining in 5A are from the Big 8. That's pretty much some strength there. Only 1 squad, Chatfield's out. Bear Creek, early on in the season, lost to a team out of state and then got dropped a couple times, including by Regis. But, you know, you always know Bear Creek's got that offensive game plan with the Thunnells and the Brewingtons, and you know, people focus on that passing game, but they do have those blue-collar kids out of Jeffco. They've got linemen. They've got people who can punch in the mouth. TJ just found that out. It's going to be a fun one to watch, especially when you consider they're from the same league, speaking of the Bear Creek-Pomona matchup.
Yeah, so as we look at the matchups, Bear Creek and Pomona, again, Pomona got a win over Bear Creek earlier on in the season, but as you know, in the playoffs, it's always a different story. That's going to be a great game Friday night at the Neck. Meanwhile, we talked about Fairview and Columbine. Marty, that's a Columbine team that's big, they're experienced. I know they don't have Danny Spahn, but they have been in this situation many times before. And for those Fairview kids, a trip to the quarterfinals. I know Fairview has good tradition, but this is new for those kids.
Well, we talked about the skills players for Fairview. They've got to show that great balance and versatility. Offensively, they have it. With Tharp running the football, You know, their quarterback is a very, very, very versatile quarterback. He can run the football, he can toss the football, and they got some great wide receivers on the outsides with Bell and Pena Gonzalez too. So if they can put up some points real fast and get up early like they did on Grandview that we're speaking of, things might go well. If they do not, and it's an even contest, Columbine, Lowry can run that, you know, that ground attack that we said might be scary against the Knights defense, which is not very big.
The other two quarterfinal games, Mullen taking on Thunder Ridge. Well, Mullen, they're so tough.
Yeah.
I just don't know if Thunder Ridge is going to have the horse staying with them. That Regis and Arvada West, hey, that's a game we had back on September the 25th at Regis High School, where this quarterfinal game is going to be played. 20-6, I believe, was the final score of that game. And I know you guys came away from that contest saying, you know, Regis, they gave Arvada West all they wanted. Again, the early season game, maybe they're for real.
That's when the light bulb went off for me and Corey Lopez, who was doing the game for me. And, you know, we were talking about him ever since then. Basically, Regis came in and punched Arvada West in the mouth. They jumped up ahead 7-0 very impressively, just walking over the A West defense with Marcus Walker. When Walker went down, he got, you know, knocked out of the game, a credit to the defense of the Wildcats. But when he went out, things kind of changed, and then A West opened up the offense. But certainly, Coach Coons and the Wildcats are well aware that Regis can drop them. They have to be very careful, execute well, and definitely game plan those Raiders.
Well, Regis is one of the hottest teams in the state right now, and it's one of those teams outside of Mullen. Obviously, nobody wants to see Mullen right now, but outside of Mullen, I don't know. Maybe you don't want to see Regis, but a great job by Mark Nolan and those Regis Raiders. All right, that's a look at the quarterfinal matchups in 5A. Let's look at the quarterfinal matchups in 4A that are coming up this week. And obviously, the biggie, Marty, the rematch of last year's 4A state championship game. Greeley West taking on Wheat Ridge. That game will be up in Greeley.
I'd love to talk to both coaches and players and, you know, get those cliches. Well, you know, this is this year, last year was a... No. This is a rematch in the playoffs. It's going to be great. Greeley West undefeated, and you got Wheat Ridge only one loss to Heritage that definitely wanted a piece of them back when those two squads played. This is everything you want in a playoff game between the Farmers and the Spartans.
Yeah, you know, you talk about two new teams. It's a new year, but listen, a lot of those players that'll be on the field for that quarterfinal matchup were on the field at Invesco last year for that championship Saturday. And again, obviously, Parker Orms, the difference maker in that game, he's not going to be on the field, but Kyle Muse, well, this is a very good Wheat Ridge team. That's going to be a fantastic game. To the other 4A semifinal games, Pine Creek taking on Longmont. Longmont has only lost twice, Greeley West and Loveland. Meanwhile, you saw Pine Creek, and boy, they continue to roll.
Yeah, I'm not going to jump off the Eagles bandwagon until somebody proves that, you know, the Eagles can't get it done. They're my choice to possibly win that 4A state championship. Brutal, fierce defense, hard-hitting, and they have some explosive players, including, you know, Josh Chance, number 11, who's just amazing on the edges there, moving the football around. Longmont's blue-collar tough team, though, so we'll have to watch that one.
You know, I think you have to go back to like 1998, maybe, when Dexter Wynn led Rampart to a state title. And last time a Colorado Springs team won a state championship, and that was a Rampart Sierra championship game. It was all Colorado Springs, but it's a while ago, at least 10 years ago. So again, Pine Creek can have a good shot there. Meanwhile, Heritage is going to be on the road. They're going to travel to Montrose. A couple of one-loss teams. Heritage only lost was to Columbine in the first game of the year. Montrose only loss was to Rock Canyon. And then Monarch, undefeated, the top seed, they get John Poovy's Loveland Indians, who come in at 9-2. How about the two losses for Loveland? Came to Fairview, who's undefeated in 5A, and it came to Greeley West, who is undefeated in 4A.
And, you know, to be honest with you, if we're going to play prognostication and try to shake things up a little bit, do not assume that the top seed Monarch is going to blast past the Indians. Those two losses you just mentioned to undefeated squads in two different classes, they've got the running game. They can play just as powerful as the Monarch Coyotes do. So that's one that I'm going to be paying attention to.
All right, well, that's a look at the upcoming matchups in Class 4A and 5A. We're getting down to the best time of the year. We're going to have two of those quarterfinal matchups. Don't know who it's going to be yet at the time of the shooting, but we will have it just to our right here on our upcoming schedule. We'll have an updated schedule there on which games we're going to be out and covering. For Marty Cesario, I'm Brian Roth. We'll talk to you next week right here on ISBN.TV.